For this reindeer candy holder we're going to make, you're going to start off by going to my website, seanmosh.com. Then over here in the search bar, I want you to type in free. And you're going to see some of my free items that I have or free information. But the one I want you to click on is free Cricut resources. And right there, I have this free SVG file for you. You can click here to download it, and you can see that there's a zip folder that is now downloading to my downloads folder. So now let's go into my downloads folder. And right here, you'll see the zipped folder. You know it's a zip folder because when I hover over it, the type says zipped in it, but also there's this little zipper icon. I'd like to tell people to think of a zip folder like an Amazon package. When you order something from Amazon, it doesn't just show up on your doorstep, it comes in a box, a closed container. That's the zip folder. So now to get product, you have to get inside this zip folder. How to open a zip folder might vary from different operating systems. So if you are using, let's say, a Mac, I want you to go on Google and search how to open zip folder on Mac. I will be showing you how I open a zip folder on my computer, which is a Windows-based operating system. I simply right-click on that folder and I go to Extract All. It then asks me where do I want to put the, the contents of that zip folder. And this is telling me right now it's going to go in that same downloads folder, which is fine. I just need it someplace where I can find it. So inside the zip folder, you're getting a picture that shows you what the final project is going to look like and the SVG file. Perfect. So now we have that all ready and we can go into Design Space. Once you have Cricut Design Space opened up, you're going to go to the Upload button. We'll click on that and say Upload Image. Now I'm going to browse to that same folder, my Downloads folder, and here you can see this is the unzipped version and there's the zipped version. We want the unzipped one. That's the one we've already opened the box. Now what we want to select is the actual SVG file. One thing to know with SVG files when you're looking for them in a folder, they're never going to have a pretty preview image. They're going to look like this kind of swirl icon. Or another way to identify them is that if I was looking at this in a list view, nope, not in a list view, in a details view, this is going to say that it's a Microsoft Edge HTML document. The HTML is what's important for knowing that this is an SVG file. And sometimes you might even see .svg at the end of the naming convention. So this is the document we want to click on. And now it uploads it to Design Space. Another thing you'll notice, it goes directly to Cut Image. It's not giving me the option of trying to remove a background or asking me, do I want to save this as a cut image or a print then cut image? That's because it's a true SVG file. And that's the beauty of an SVG file. It's already saved as a cut image and it's already layered for you. You can see all the different colored layers are coming in. So I'll click upload and now it's right here in my uploads folder so I can add that to the canvas. So there's a glitch in Design Space right now where sometimes when you bring in an SVG, the layers are not lined up perfectly. That does not really matter. It because right in here is just how it looks for designing purposes, you're going to cut all these pieces out and then layer them together. So don't worry about that. That's it. That's how to upload the SVG file. So now I can go make it. And it's going to start off by telling me to load the white mat. And I am actually going to go and change the project copies to 2 and say apply. So now it's going to do 2 sets of this same design. So I can cut them out together. I'm going to scooch these eyes over here just so that there's a little bit of separation between the pieces. Another thing I want to show you, say you're working with scraps of paper and you know that your space is going to be tight. If you wanted to, you could rotate this reindeer. That. And the red is telling me that it's crossing outside the cutting area. So right there is good. But now I can scooch this one in closer. And you see how that is using a lot less cardstock? So there's another little tip. I like to use scraps so that I can use up things I already have versus starting with a fresh brand new piece. When we're in the mat preview screen, you can also see all the different mats you're going to need to use. So the first one it's going to ask me to load is the white mat. I'm actually going to cut the white of the eyes out of a permanent vinyl because I want to show you a little trick that I use. Next is going to be the dark brown piece. Then there's a lighter brown. Then there's kind of a tan color. And last is the black for the eyes. The eyes I'm also going to cut out of a permanent vinyl. So there's 5 different colors that we're going to have to cut. Go back up to the number 1 mat and hit continue. And then Cricut Design Space will connect to our cutting machine. First thing you're going to notice on your cutting machine is that the double arrow button is blinking. So that's telling us to load the mat. So make sure that your mat gets under those little guides and then press that button to load it. You can also see that I am using some painter's tape on this piece of cardstock. That's because my mat is starting to lose its stickiness. So I use painter's tape to hold things in place so I can get more use of my mat. The other thing you might notice is in the opposite corner, I have the white vinyl that I am using for the eyes. I like to do this when I use scraps of material is just rotate that mat and cut from the opposite direction. It really helps you to get more life out of your mat because you're cutting in multiple locations instead of always cutting in that same corner every time. So now we're moving on to the next color. Again, we're loaded the mat, and then when that C button blinks, that's telling us it's time to cut. I really like how when you watch the screen in Cricut Design Space, it's going to tell you which color it wants it to cut next. So you don't have to try to remember, do I cut the dark brown first or the medium brown or the light tan? It's going to show you, boom, this is the one you want to cut so that you just keep going through all of the steps of loading the mat for the right color and then pressing the C button to cut the appropriate color. This black piece is being cut out of permanent vinyl, just like the white piece was permanent vinyl. I'm doing that because I find with small pieces like eyes, it makes it easier to place them because there's already adhesive on the back. Now it's time to assemble all the pieces. The first thing I like to do is take a marker, and you're going to notice that one of my layers of cardstock has a white edge on it. And I am just going to go right around the edge with the chisel tip of my marker. You can also use an ink pad to do this, but I'm just inking that edge so that the white doesn't show. And it kind of helps soften the outside edge of this piece. Don't forget to do the inside of the little circle for the nose. Now I'm going to grab my tape runner, which has a double-sided tape in it, and I'm going to apply some of that onto the back of this head piece of the reindeer. I like to use a combination of the double-sided tape and a glue pen. Reason I do this is that the tape can fill some large areas, but then with pieces like this, I like to have some glue or adhesive right close to the edges because you don't want to put your sucker in this reindeer's nose and then have it separate. So now I'm just going to layer the head piece on top of the piece that has the antlers. And if you don't get it right, I'm kind of showing here that we're not all perfect. You make mistakes. So you can pick it up and adjust it and get your nose holes lined up and your ears lined up. And now for the smaller piece that goes right around the nose, I'm just going to use glue. And this glue is the Zig two-way glue pen. They have it in chisel and also a fine tip. I like it because I can write like a pen right where I want my glue to go. Now I'm going to grab the vinyl pieces, and these are for the eyes. I'm first going to weed the pieces, and I actually cut extras of the whites of the eyes because I'm probably going to make more of these. So then I'm using a piece of contact paper, clear contact paper, and I'm going to burnish it both front and back to get the little white of the eye off. And you can see this one's being stubborn because it's tiny, so I helped it with my fingernail. And now I'm just going to place that in the black eyeball, burnish that, flip it over, and if you can't get that backing to come up, you can get started with your weeding tool. And you might need to burnish it some more, and then you can peel it off. And now both of those vinyl pieces are stuck onto your clear contact paper. So you can just position those and place those on the deer head. So now do the whole process again. I like to use the vinyl pieces for these little eyeballs because they already had adhesive on the back of them, so I'm not messing around with glue. And it's a great way to use up those little scraps of vinyl that we all have sitting around. There we go. The last thing we have to do is add the sucker. And you want to kind of hold it up because the sucker is going to want to sit half in, half out. So I am going to grab just some ordinary Scotch tape and rip off a couple little pieces and then lift up this whole thing because if I had it sitting flat down, the sucker wouldn't pop out the little hole. And you can see this way how it sticks out that hole just a little bit. So there's dimension to it. So while you're holding it like this, just stick some tape on both sides. That's how you make a reindeer lollipop holder. Before you go, make sure to like, subscribe, and comment below. I love to hear from you.